Coming up on today's art-themed vandalism podcast, a bit of this. Yeah, nailing his doobies to the concrete floor.
Ooh, ouch.
And this.
No, people do play frisbees in parks, and no wonder, it's a fun game.
It is a bloody fun game. And a bit of this. Well, they could have done, yeah. They could have tested him for
asparagus.
You just have to smell it. No, I've never smelt my weed, for the record. Hello, and welcome to episode number 3 of the Modern Art is Rubbish podcast. I'm Marcus, and this is Tom. All right, Tom?
Hey, Marcus.
All right, are you ready for this? What? Listen to this. What's that sound like to you?
It sounds like you don't want to pay your council tax bill.
No, I fortunately have that included in my rent. Actually, no, that was me ripping up an old piece of art. Because that's what I like to do. And coincidentally, I wasn't just randomly ripping up that piece of art, because there's a lot of vandalism going on in the art world. Before we get to the main topic that I want to talk to you about today, which is vandalism in art, I particularly picked 4 pieces of vandalism for us to look at. I want to talk about news, and there's a lot of vandalism going on in the news as well in the art world. Have you heard any vandalising stories recently? No.
Yeah. I feel like I should have.
Yeah, you should get up on your art vandalism stories. Did you see that one about the Jeff Koons on Snapchat?
I saw like the virtual animal in the park. I saw that on the news. Yeah. So was that in New York?
Well, what it is Jeff Koons has made a lot of blow up dogs. They look like blow up silver dog balloons. They're virtual sculptures, and he's teamed up with Snapchat. If you get this app, you can use augmented reality to see the sculptures in various different locations, such as parks and probably car parks and other places like that, I reckon. So what you do is you hold up your phone, you'll see the normal scene of people possibly just sunbathing or whatever they're doing in the park, playing frisbee. They play frisbee a lot in the park, don't they, in America? Am I stereotyping by saying that? Possibly.
No, people do play frisbees in parks, and no wonder, it's a fun game.
It is a bloody fun game. Anyway, what you do is you go up into a location and you hold up your phone, and a Jeff Koons sculpture will be inserted into the scene. Now, what's happened is there's been another artist whose name I cannot pronounce. Can you pronounce that name of that artist?
Sebastian, is it?
Yeah, Errázuriz, yeah. Errázuriz, yeah, that's the name of the other artist. He's decided to create in the same spot. If you download his app, you can see a virtual kind of vandalised version of a Jeff Koons sculpture. He's like tagged it and put writing on it and stuff, but he hasn't actually yet interfered with the real app. He's just kind of tagged his own app. I don't really know if that's like proper vandalism. It's just like electronic vandalism.
It's like virtual vandalism.
Yeah.
Or augmented, as they're calling it.
It'd be a lot easier to clean, wouldn't it, virtual vandalism?
Yeah, that's very true.
Entropic. And then the next one we've got is, again, why am I picking artists this week for the news item, where the news should actually be about artists whose names are actually impossible to pronounce for someone from Essex? Because this next thing is about an artist called Piotr Pawlenski. Ski?
Well, I know. I mean, that's like Piotr Pawlenski. It's quite an easy one, really. It's like Peter Pawlenski, isn't it?
This is a controversial artist. He got asylum in France, so I suppose that's quite nice of a country to give another person asylum. It's always quite a nice thing to do. And then what happened was he thought he would set fire to the outside of a bank.
How long is it before we're going to see him getting asylum somewhere else?
About 5 minutes.
So Piotr Pawlenski, he sought asylum in France, and then he set fire to the central bank building in Paris.
They don't like him in Russia because he kind of like is quite controversial. He did one where he nailed his private parts to the floor in Red Square near the Kremlin as a protest against the government. And he's done other violent things like wrapping himself in barbed wire and cutting off part of his ear.
So you don't approve of this, his latest work?
I don't approve of it, only in the fact that it says it might have, they put other people in danger. The idea apparently was that he said that the Bastille was destroyed by people, the prison in the revolution, and the people destroyed, its symbol. And he's saying the Banque de France has taken the place of the Bastille, and bankers have taken the place of the monarchs. I quite like Nationwide, and that's a mutual. I don't know if if it was a mutual bank, there are other banks are available, I'd like to say, but if it's a mutual, it's owned by the customers. I don't know if they're as bad as... I don't know about the Bank of France. Have you got any feelings on the Bank of France?
I'm surprised you leap to their defence. To be honest, yeah. I mean, why not? I quite like this.
Well,
I mean, he's an artist. Okay, I guess is it art to set fire to destroy stuff like that? I guess if he's making a point, anything can be art, can't it? It's kind of like part of the politics is part of his art, I guess. The fact that he has got asylum, that he protests against the banks or against the Russian government. Were you saying he protested by nailing something?
He nailed debris to the concrete floor.
Ooh,
and then he stitched his mouth together. I mean, that's quite a literal thing, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, well, after you've done your testicles and you're getting told off, it was probably like a self-defensive move, just to sew his mouth up so he didn't say anything wrong.
Yeah, you don't want to do that. Maybe because he didn't want to say ouch.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did it at the same time, but I'm just looking at the picture as well. He's standing outside the bank, isn't he, posing while the windows are clearly on fire, and he's standing posing in his long shorts and his sandals, a bit like the sandals my dad had in the care home, actually.
It does look like a holiday photo.
Yeah. Well, he's just got a holiday in France where he's just setting light to everything. I don't know if arson holidays would catch on. You'd probably you certainly wouldn't be able to get in holiday insurance for an arson holiday, would you?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Some insurers might cover fires at the central bank in Paris.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there would be, because it's not an act of God, it's an act of art, isn't it? So I'm sure that's the sign. They're covered for that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that I actually thought of the subject for today's podcast before I looked at the news. So it was kind of coincidental that I'd already started looking at artworks, vandalism artworks, before I'd actually picked the news. So what I've done is I've picked a few of the greats. I mean, there has been a lot of vandalism, which we'll probably go into another time, about Leonardo da Vinci's The Mona Lisa that's been attacked, and there's been a few other fine arts that have been attacked. And one I would like to mention, which is more accidental than actually vandalism, was involving the hotelier Steve Wynn. You know, the guy who owns the hotels in Las Vegas.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he apparently accidentally put his elbow through a Picasso he owned. He put his elbow through it and did like $7 million worth of damage. He was a bit short-sighted. I mean, how do you accidentally put a body part through a canvas?
Maybe if you're reaching for your drink. He was probably reaching for his,
Oh, I see. So you're saying he was like He's like, his canvas is there in front of him. He's going, oh, I'll get my drink, but he's forgotten that the Picasso's in front of him and just put his hand straight through to get his drink.
Yeah, his gin and tonic was immediately behind the Picasso.
And if you're short-sighted, he's probably just focused on the drink, but that's an expensive sip. That's really expensive, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, you know what they say, he should have gone to Boots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He should have gone to the other one. Yeah.
The other one. Yeah.
The other one. Yeah. We better not, as we're not being paid by either of them. But well, they may well do. If they want to pay us, then we'll mention the other one.
Yeah, he should have gone to Kellogg's Crunchy Nut Cornflakes.
Yeah, we could say lots of these things because we're not actually under any kind of rules. We can mention lots of products and hope that speculatively Cocoa Pops that we get sponsorship. Why would cornflakes or cereal want to sponsor an art podcast though?
But they could do product placement, so we could put bowls of cornflakes in front of the Picasso rather than behind it as Wynn did or whatever.
Oh yeah, we could do that in our show notes. We'll have a lot of maybe we'll do the art of cereal, but only actually review Kellogg's ones because we'll do that. I always actually thought, in terms of the aesthetic, if you look at those little, those little boxes you get of cereal, like the mini ones, when you get the mini Kellogg's ones. I'd never actually really had those very much, but I used to like the concept of them. I like the visual of those little boxes. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? I like the visual of the little tiny little cornflake
They were
boxes.
A lot of fun as a kid because I associate them to going on holiday on the Suffolk coast. We'd get those and me and my sisters would have them for breakfast, and it was a real excitement having the variety boxes of cereal on our holiday, and it was only something we did on holiday.
Yeah, but wasn't there one? I always remember there was one that wasn't very good.
There was cornflakes generally. I think.
So there was a little cornflakes box. That was like the really real disappointment of the thing. Did you ever think, like when you used to have the really, really massive cornflake packets, did you ever get a little box and stick it next to a large box just to play on the perspective of it?
No, that would have been really confusing. I guess the way to do that would be to place the large box far away from you and put the little box in front of you and crouch your head down.
Oh yeah, you could do that. And then what you'd have to do is if you put a little teaspoon next to the small box close up, then it looked like a massive spoon. And then you could get someone that would stand in the distance with a normal size spoon. I like that. It's like I'm just knocking my keyboard.
A spade.
Yeah, get a spade with a pot. That would look. That'd be massive, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
So that would probably be the equivalent of a really huge person going to eat the little box like we would with a tablespoon.
Well, what you could do is the Bank of France. You could just cover it with the logo of the cornflakes packet, and have that as the third largest perspective before setting it on fire, obviously.
Would it have been as impactful if we just put a Kellogg's packet on the front of the bank and then just
set it on fire,
or covered it in milk? Covered it in milk and then let it. Like when milk really smells, you just leave it just smelling for ages.
It would be more difficult to cover a large building in to make it look like a cereal packet and then drop milk from a helicopter or whatever on top of it. It's a lot more organisation. It's a more expensive act, isn't it? Act of vandalism.
I wonder if it would be as easy to justify artistically dropping milk onto it as opposed to setting a light to it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm really talking about milk. How the hell did we arrive from talking about serious art vandalism to turning a bank into Kellogg's cornflakes?
It was product placement, isn't it, in the podcast?
Angry penguins.
Vandalism. I was looking up about the 1994 artwork Away from the Flock by Damien Hirst that was actually damaged. I've seen it. It's a preserved sheep in a tank of formaldehyde.
Yeah, go on, tell us what happened.
The guy's called Mark Bridger, and he's an unemployed artist from Oxford. So he walks into the gallery and thinks, oh, no. Well, I kind of make it look like he's just walking in and he's just saying, oh, yeah, I think I'll just do that. I mean, he clearly had thought about this because he walks in with black ink. Now, I think there's an element of premeditation, because I've walked in with an amount of ink into a gallery when I go and do sketching, but not anything that would taint the entire contents of a sculpture. So he walks in and he sees the Damien Hirst. This is in the 90s, by the way, and it's called Away from the Flock. And what he does is he removes the top of the tank. Now, I want to know where the invigilators were at this point, because the thing is I used to invigilate, and you wouldn't have done that in front of me. You wouldn't have got away with it. I would have been right on you. But anyway, so what he does is he takes the top off and he poured ink into it,
right, yeah.
into the contents, and he actually caused the tank to go completely black. And he called it Black Sheep. He said it was like a rechanging, and he apparently gave his card to an assistant and then ran out the gallery. So what happened was, of course, he did get caught, and he went to Bow Street Magistrates, and he was trying to argue that he'd actually done it.
Prosecuted?
Well, yeah, he was trying to argue he was prosecuted for sort of criminal damage, but he was trying to argue that he made a positive contribution to the work, and he actually got a conditional discharge. I think it's probably because he was so broke, and I think also there was no real permanent damage done. So he obviously didn't use very good ink. I would have used Indian ink in that water, because that's more likely to stain. The thing is, He was trying to make a new statement on it. Actually, I don't think it was very good. I don't think his statement was very good. I think it was just straight vandalism, really. And a little while after these events, Damien Hirst made a book featuring the sheep, and it had a little tab that you could pull it and make the sheep go black. Had this guy being a more integral, perhaps he wouldn't have done what he did, because he actually sued Damien Hirst. Did you see that?
He failed to sue him, but I guess because he was trying to sue him, what does that mean? That it wasn't really art what he was doing? He was just trying to get some recognition. And the court case notes seem to indicate the judge thought he was jealous of Damien Hirst's success.
I think jealousy is such a subjective and momentary thing.
It's interesting, the subject jealousy appearing when you get a black sheep. I mean, what is a black sheep? You know, black sheep is something, isn't it? It's a recognisable sort of other, and it tends to get related to the family, doesn't it?
Got a point there, actually, because it's called away from the flock. A sheep that's away from the flock, like a person, would be known as the black sheep of the family. So maybe he was adding an extra dimension to the whole piece, which is possible. Maybe you should have been his defence lawyer. Yeah, that would be good. That would have worked. Because that does happen sometimes. It goes, when things go to trial, what happens is it ends up becoming a question about the nature of art.
Well, the trial was a question of vandalism in the end, wasn't it? Which is kind of different from a trial of a black sheep.
I find him guilty. I find him guilty of not doing art.
What is confusing about it, though, is that the judge referencing jealousy as a motivation, which is kind of... It's the word jealousy is what makes me think of the black sheep, and actually we should be talking about vandalism. The judge wasn't talking about vandalism. The judge was actually like reading the artwork. It's almost as if like him dyeing it black affected the judge quite a lot. The judge saw it artistically. He saw the motivation artistically, and then he sentenced him for vandalism, which is kind of like the judge has gone two ways all at once. Then
I reckon that the judge quite enjoyed the trial. Yeah. You know, you'd be looking for something like that. You must get so many boring, run-of-the-mill kind of things, and then suddenly this comes along, and you just think that's pretty good, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dichotomy. Another act of vandalism I was looking at was one that was done against a painting by Mark Rothko, whose paintings I think can be quite good, but can be quite depressing.
I think you need to listen to Mozart to appreciate him. I think you look at the Rothkos while Mozart's playing, and it suddenly has a new meaning. I think, or has a new feeling. I saw his exhibition in London a couple of years ago, and I looked around it. I looked around the whole thing. I was like, oh, this is so boring. I really didn't appreciate it. It all just looked like boring pictures. And then my dad came up to me, who I went round with, and he gave me his headset. And he said, oh, go round and listen to the music. And I did that, and it was much more enjoyable. In the exhibition I went to, they had these headsets with Mozart specifically for it, which he'd obviously designed it to be listened to while you look at it.
So, Tom, so Vladimir Umanets, he's an artist, and he walked into the Tate Modern Gallery with a nice bit of black ink, a kind of vandalising style of black ink, I assume, and he picked a Rothko, he said for no particular reason, and he decided to tag it. I'm looking at the artwork now, and it is a bit like a graffiti tag. It's sort of really rubbishy, drippy writing. So he walks up to this Rothko and he writes his name. I mean, probably quite a good idea if you're going to do a bit of vandalism, sign your name. And also in the corner he wrote a potential piece of yellowism. The actual damage was pretty bad, and it went through several layers, so it would have required quite a lot of restoration. He described this act as actually redefining the work as yellowism, quoting Marcel Duchamp, which seems to be a standard thing to say, you know, I'm this revolutionary artist and this isn't vandalism. I mean, he even suggested that he added value to the piece. So this is him speaking in The Guardian. I believe that if someone restores the Rothko piece and removes my signature, the value of the piece would be lower, but after a few years the value will go higher because of what I did. I think he was kidding himself if he thinks the price of Rothkos is affected by what he does. I mean, they're just going up and up. And I think the fact he wrote yellowism on the painting will make no difference to its price.
I kind of differ with you there. I kind of like the idea of getting the Rothko with the vandalism on it, with yellowism and the guy's name. I think that sounds quite charming, and I think that would be I think I agree with him. It might be more valuable in the future.
So if I come to you and you give me $50 million and I say I'm going to buy you a Rothko, and you go okay, and I turn up with my name written on it and the words purpleism written on it because I'm a purplist.
I think I like the other. I think the otherism I'm quite into. So yellowism, vandalism, all these things. I quite like the idea of having it on my wall. The vandalised Rothko, specifically that one with the guy's name on. I think that is since about 5 minutes ago, it's become my favourite Rothko piece.
Of course, now it is in history because it has since been cleared up. It took years of restoration. I still think if you owned this Rothko, you would look at it and after a while you get sick of it and have to pay £200,000 to get it cleaned up. That's what I think would happen.
Yeah, well, yeah, maybe for you, but it's each to their own, isn't it?
Yeah, so I thought I'd have a look at yellowism. I'm not sure what it's about, so I went on to yellowism.com. On a superficial level, the philosophy is not in yellow, it's actually in green writing. So I'm starting to think it's not about the colour. And also when you scroll down, the first image at the bottom is a purple box. I'll put up a link on the show notes so people listening can judge for themselves. Also, I'm now going to read a quote from him in the Telegraph. I think there is a reason, but at the moment I'm not quite getting it, but see what you think. Yellowism is not art, and yellowism isn't anti-art. It's an element of contemporary visual culture. It's not an artistic movement, it's not art, it's not reality, it's just yellowism. The main difference between yellowism and art is that in art you've got freedom of interpretation. In yellowism you don't have freedom of interpretation. Everything is about yellowism, that's it. So he's made this statement and then later said he should not have really done it, because that's not an excuse.
Well, he did spend a year and a half in prison. I reckon he might have been forced to say that. This is a guy who's been through court. He's been put in prison for doing it. You know, that's kind of it's taken away his freedom, his ability to express himself or to talk about it. I take what he said about it with a pinch of salt.
I think what would have been an appropriate punishment would be for him to be put in an open prison and hire Britney Spears to come along, because apparently now she's an artist, and get her to paint over every painting that he does, so she can do whatever she wants on his paintings.
It's like an eye for an eye type punishment.
Yeah. I mean, in this case, he paints canvases and Britney Spears comes along and starts painting on them, because Britney Spears' artistic practice would probably benefit from the collaboration. So it's a bit like community service and punishment in one, in prison. You could get lots of celebrities. Maybe they could do a celebrity art punishment. So it involves criminals that have done any kind of vandalism, tagging, whatever, and they get celebrities in to punish them for a year in an artistic way.
Yeah, but isn't that make the crime worthwhile?
Yeah.
Because what the judge was saying about jealousy with the Damien Hirst thing, see, if that is a reason why he did the Rothko, it makes it worthwhile. It's gives you extra motivation if you know that you're going to do a collaboration with Britney Spears as punishment. I mean, who would you, if you had the chance to do a collaboration with Britney Spears, but to achieve it, you had to deface some artist's work? You wouldn't know until you'd done the crime and got the time.
Single point perspective. So Guernica, a big painting, over 7 meters long, painted by Picasso in response to the bombing of the Spanish town of Guernica in 1937. So this man, Tony Shafrazi, an artist, 1974, at the time the Vietnam War, I believe, was ending, walks into the Museum of Modern Art in New York and sprays across the painting in foot-high letters, "Kill, lies, all." And eventually he was caught by a guard and he said, "Call the curator, I'm an artist." So that was his kind of anti-war statement. The actual damage to the painting wasn't that bad though. The paint was quite easily removed because the canvas was so heavily varnished. I've actually seen this painting. Have you seen it?
I have, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I have, yeah.
Did they have armed guards?
I saw it 20 years ago, so I can't remember, to be honest. I can't remember.
They probably just handed out flowers at that time. But now they've got armed guards, kind of all changed. Yeah. They give you flowers and love, and now they just point Uzis at you, because this is the modern world. So as a sentence, Shafrazi got 5 years probation. What might have helped him was that the judge asked him, "Would you do it again?" And he replied, "No, I did it already. I've got other things to do." And the judge said, "What other things?" And he said, "I don't know." Again, I've got a little bit of art rubbish for you. I thought that's quite interesting what he did previously. But then he comes out with this over-the-top statement. "I wanted to bring the art absolutely up to date and retrieve it from art history to give it life."
Yeah, well, it's interesting because the world is so messed up. There's so much pain and awful stuff going on in the world. Any sort of statement like that seems to have a lot of relevance today in 2017. And it's you defend the establishment, the art establishment, and the history and the value of the beautiful paintings or whatever. But there's a lot of problems in the world, and like the value of paintings has no respect to problems of the world, does it? I guess.
The last bit of vandalism, the last bit of art vandalism that I want to talk about, you can see in our notes there's pictures of a lot of men that are weeing over a urinal. The original was created by the artist Marcel Duchamp. Marcel Duchamp, as you probably know, made at the turn of the century, decided that anything could be art, so entered a urinal into an art competition and submitted it. So basically it was one that he just bought from a toilet shop. I don't know if they had toilet shops at the turn of the 20th century. I don't even know if they have toilet shops now. There used to be one down near you, wasn't there? A toilet shop, or was that a ceramic shop?
No, that's just the bathroom.
You know when you lived in down Preston Park, you used to have, wasn't there a ceramic shop there?
Yeah, but I mean they had all sorts of household stuff, but it had toilets, they had baths, and sinks and all sorts, yeah. But any urinals? I don't know if you ever checked that out, but... No, I wish I had done though.
Yeah, because that would have been good. I don't know why it would have been good, but...
So if I was to buy a urinal and put it in a glass case inside the house where I live with my girlfriend, we could quite legitimately claim it's a famous bit of art. No, that is where you're wrong. It's because... I overdid on the no there, but dude, you're wrong, because the thing is that they have to be authorised toilets. The original was built in about the 1910s, and I think it's since been lost. But what they do is there are official reproductions of the toilet. So it's not even the same piece of art that's used that goes around the world. They are authorised toilets. So who do I have to go to get my my piece authorised, my toilet?
I don't know, but it's probably like the Duchamp Institute, and they officially sanction the toilet. I don't know how they officially sanction, and you probably have to get it made by an official toilet maker, and then it has to get a license to say that it's official. I thought there was just one and he just did it as a joke, but now there seems to be lots around the world, and they're all, so they're all basically just reproductions of the original. So it's actually like authorised art toilets.
It's authorised by the artist himself, essentially, or his estate, or whoever is managing him.
There is quite a big demand for authorised art toilets.
Could you not just authorise your flat, Marcus, and authorise it all as artwork?
The problem is I don't want people vandalising it or pissing in it, so...
Why not?
Well, no.
I guess it would smell...
If I was to declare my flat to be art now, I think certainly there would be a high incidence of vandalism coming along.
A backlash.
A backslash. So what's going to happen, right? You've got a toilet in an art gallery. What are you going to do? You're going to wee in it, aren't you? If you're an artist, it's just saying wee here. It's kind of like quite a fashion. There's been like a sort of 6 people, artists I know, that have actually weed in the toilet. The toilet was actually called Fountain as well.
I mean,
and the thing is,
they are quite in demand, toilets. I mean, all artists do need to use them. So, particularly looking around a gallery, you'll think, actually, I do actually want to go in there.
Yeah, I mean, certainly we're talking about Tate. The toilets are quite a distance away. They're quite near the stairwell, if I remember rightly. So you have to walk quite a way to get to the toilet. So,
and I guess if you're an artist pissing in the toilet, it can be authorised urine.
If you had Duchamp urine, that I suppose that might be acceptable. But in this case, it's kind of like it's considered vandalism. But what I don't understand is if you wee in a toilet, toilets are generally set up not to get damaged. So if you're not actually causing damage to the art piece, I'm not sure how you get done for it, because it's quite a complex one here. Maybe it's indecent weeing or something. public weeing.
Oh right, yeah.
One of the most famous ones, which I quite like, was Brian Eno.
It's another form of yellowism as well.
Yeah, well, it depends. Depends how much asparagus you've been eating, or whether you've been drinking a lot of fluid. I find that you tends to go a bit more. Tends to go a bit more white. I don't know if you know that. I did that.
Yeah.
I did that when I was. It's always very clear when I fast. I digress.
Yeah.
Brian Eno in 1990. Brian Eno, of course the singer. Well, not singer. Why he's not a singer, is he? Why am I saying he's a singer? The
Producer, songwriter.
the producer and artist as well. He decided to wee in the fountain. So what he did was but he's actually quite creative with the way he weed in the fountain, because it's in a case, so it's got a slot, so you can't just stick your schlong through the gap and hit the urinal. So he got kind of quite creative about this one, because this one was actually under a perspex case or glass case. So he actually went to the plumbers and he bought a couple of feet of clear plastic tubing, and then he filled it with urine. So what he did was, so he walked into the gallery and he's probably got his finger on this tube to stop the urine coming out. And then what he does is he feeds the tube through the slot in the glass case, and then he lets go of it, and apparently like a little trickle of urine comes out of it. And that was his big statement. So he was talking about the fact that it's not even the original. It's not even, the original toilet. So he just thought, I'll just pee in it.
They should have drug tested his pee and done him for drugs in his system.
Cool. I mean, I remember when this podcast, which was quite a while ago, started, you were all for burning down, allegedly burning down banks, and now you want to drug test for weed.
Yeah. Well, it was just a suggestion for the police if they were cross with him. That could have been a way to criminalise the act. Not that I would approve of it. I'd say absolutely do not drug test it, but they could have done.
Well, they could have done, yeah. They could have tested him for
asparagus.
You just have to smell it. No, I've never smelt my weed, for the record. That'll go on podcast highlights. I've never smelt my weed.
But Marcel Duchamps, he's actually used a toilet. It's pretty stinky sort of exhibition. I mean, if there was a public toilet on exhibition, it would smell, wouldn't it? I mean, public toilets smell.
By Marcel Duchamp making it and saying it's art, it was kind of made into just an art piece. But then they go and they don't take the original art piece, and then they just stick an authorised toilet. Now, there is a big argument, which is what Brian Eno is saying. Is saying it is an authorised toilet, and I'm pissing in an authorised toilet. It's not the original art. And it's the same thing, in 93, French artist Pierre Pinocelli urinated into the piece, and then he attacked it with a hammer. I don't know if the hammer bit, I didn't quite get that, why he would attack the work with a hammer.
Maybe he was doing his plumbing training.
Yeah, I don't know why that's different. Now, smashing the toilet, that just becomes an act of straight vandalism. Another guy, a Chinese performance art duo, they're called mair02. They had a wee on it. But do you see that picture? There's a picture from, because it was in a box, they only weed on the box, on the perspex box, not the actual toilet. I kind of think that doesn't work. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah, but it would make the area smell more like a public toilet.
Yeah, actually, that's a kind of thing, because there's not many, to my knowledge, there's not many smells in art. Art doesn't really utilise the smell factor very much. Even if you go and see some of the dead stuff from Damien Hirst, there's no real smeller about it. So it's quite sanitary. It doesn't really utilise that. So yeah, that's quite good actually. I quite like that. Yeah. There's a Swedish guy urinated in it. It was a work of art, and he turned it back into an everyday object. Because when this piece came out, at the turn of the 21st century, there was this big conversation about whether it is art. Can a toilet be art? And the interesting thing was with the French artist, when he went to court, he had the same conversation, which is the artist was saying, no, it's a toilet. So they had to, in court, have the argument again as to whether it was a work of art or not.
Oh, right, yeah.
So in summary, I think that vandalising work can be a statement. But I know if I was an artist and someone came along and they vandalised my work, I'd be pissed off. Overall, I think these are quite legitimate, what these people are doing, but I don't know if I would like it if it was done to my own work. That's what I think.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that as well. Yeah. But it's about turning someone's work into something else that they didn't want. So it's like...
Yeah.
It's like taking a piece of work that is like about sheep and turning it into a piece of work that's about... Well, not about badgers, but about black sheep. To work about a white sheep and turning it into a work about a black sheep is kind of changing the meaning that the artist set out with.
Oh yeah, it's pretty transformative.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's it for this week. So people, where can people follow this, Tom? On our website, modernartisrubbish.com. We've got the notes on the website. We've got a Facebook page now. And also, can you go on iTunes and give us a 5-star review? Nothing less would be, if you gave us 4 stars, I would consider that vandalism of the purity of our iTunes page.
Absolutely. Our page has been created for 5-star reviews.
Yes, purity and unvandalisableness.
Yeah, but I guess it would kind of be respecting the podcast if people did give this particular episode very bad reviews. It would be a respect of the vandalism we've talked about.
Unfortunately, it would affect all the other reviews. So I can only... what I would suggest is that people give a 5-star rating, give a good review to all the other podcasts, and vandalise this one in their review, but making sure you give 5-star and glowing reviews of the rest. So surround it. A friend calls it a compliment sandwich. What you do is you say something good to someone, then you say something bad, and then you say something good, and it's a compliment sandwich. So maybe a compliment sandwich style of review.
Yeah, I don't know, that doesn't work for me, because like a compliment sandwich is almost like a cheese sandwich. You don't have cheese with bread in the middle and then cheese again and call it a cheese sandwich. A compliment sandwich would be like an insult, and then you make a compliment and then you do another insult. That's a compliment sandwich, surely.
An inverted compliment sandwich. That's what we want. We want an inverted compliment